99% of the time at a championship, I was never at my best. It felt like somebody had a voodoo doll. And when I got to like 40 meters and I felt myself going to the ground, I can't even think about what I would have run if I had kept on, going. Everyone was saying that you have to win at the Olympics, you have to win and there's no way you can lose. And, as I said, I started saying to myself that, I have to win, I must win, or else you're going to disappoint a lot of people.
Asafa Powell was one of the most uniquely talented sprinters in history. At 6'4" and 98 kilograms, his frame would stand out in any lineup. His running and race execution on his best days, which there were lots, was something to be marvelled, and many in the sport considered it to be perfection. Powerful, smooth, and then effortless. And you can't forget incredibly fast. But it's as if he ran stuck in a paradox. He would run world records, dominate the world's best, execute perfect races at will, and more consistently than any other sprinter in history. Except for the most important 3 days of the year. When Powell was asked, would you rather win an Olympic gold or break a world record, he answered wrong. His curse was to be the world's fastest man who couldn't win. And it all began at his world championship debut. At only 20 years old, a rookie Asafa Powell entered this championship ranked well outside the world's top 20. But in the heats, he blew past his own personal best, shockingly, the fastest qualifying time in a sea of veteran sprinters. So come quarterfinal time, there's a small sense of hope building around the rising Jamaican star.
Peut-être Patrick Johnson.
A false start, but a sigh of relief. Between 03 and 09, one false start was allowed for the entire field. But if anyone false starts on the next gun, they'd be disqualified.
Et voilà la constatation, si vous voulez, de Powell. Et aussi viré, deux exclus dans la même course.
His chances over before he even started. A nightmarish ending to any championship, let alone your first.
I didn't move! I did not move!
But to add to the horror, Powell had to watch from the sideline as that 10.05 he ran in the heats would have won the semi-finals.
Chambers leading the way in second place, dipping in.
And then even the final.
Front and the outside, it is Campbell coming through and on the inside, but I think it may have been Kim Collins in lane 1.
6 days later, Powell would run 10.02 seconds. A seemingly sick joke by some higher being. But let's be fair, you can't really take a debut championship seriously. Your first time is meant for mistakes after all. New year, new goal, the Athens Olympics. Like any Olympic year, this means times across the board were super hot, but so was Powell, cracking open his season with a 9.99, his first sub 10, followed days later by a massive drop, 9.91. Within Jamaica, his name was circulating as a genuine medal contender, and 3 weeks out from the Olympics, he'd start making noise internationally. A relatively unknown 21-year-old Powell would find himself sandwiched between a thrilling matchup in Crystal Palace. To his left, world record holder and Olympic champion Maurice Green. To his right, Kim Collins, the 2003 world champion. And in lane 7, another rising young star, Justin Gatlin, who had also been making waves, running 9.92 at the US Olympic trials only weeks earlier.
Away this time, and Green got the better start, and Powell's got a lot of work to do now, and Kim Collins coming through the middle. Asafa Powell in the middle ahead of Green at the moment. There's his Green, and Powell is coming away, and Powell takes it for Green in second, and I think it was Leonard Scott in third, and it's 9.91. A brilliant run, 21 years old, a new star in the making.
A repeat 9.91, scalping two kings of the sport in the process. A huge win, showcasing an unmatched drive phase, and with his 6'4" frame, closing speed that matches the world's best.
And not even the great Maurice Green, former world record holder and the reigning Olympic champion, could do anything.
Powell's looking scary, and this solidified hype around him as a new and exciting contender. And less than a week later, he'd back it up again, holding on to another win against the world record holder and a young Gatlin.
Green in etwa gleich gut weggekommen, gleich auf und es ist Asafa Powell.
With these races, Powell had firmly laid down the gauntlet, and entered the Athens Games ranked the world number 3, but having proven when all the big dogs step on the track, he's the one who reaches the finish first. Powell's Olympics would get underway, driving home in cruise control with a 10.06 seconds in the heats, and then a 9.99 in the quarters, playing the rounds intelligently, securing spots in the next round with as minimal effort as possible. Then in his semis, he's pressured to run a little bit faster to ensure a spot, winning this race with a 9.95, the fastest time heading into the final. And I just want you to keep this in mind. This is his first year as a sub 10 second runner, and he's doing it race after race while conserving energy for the final. So in what looks to be the form of his short career so far, he gets out of the blocks uncharacteristically slow, finding himself at an unusual disadvantage at 50 meters, before tightening, struggling to get his usual high knee lift, and chasing the line in desperation. You can tell mid-race he was hoping for it to be over sooner. 9.94, 5th place. Honestly, all things considered, a pretty solid time. And arguably, this wasn't really a choke yet. Instead, we could celebrate the breakout performance by Gatlin, and an incredible lifetime performance by Francis Obiquelu for silver. Except for the fact, less than 2 weeks later, he'd run 9.87 for a new Jamaican record. At this point, Powell's rapid improvement was evident. His season average in only 1 year had improved 0.2 of a second. In theory, simply do that again, and you'll have the world record. So he did, opening his 2005 campaign with another personal best of 9.84, then repeating the exact same effort verbatim in his second race of the year. For some reason though, handing Gatlin the win.
But right there, the look over to his left, and Gatlin runs through the tape, and it cost Asafa Powell the win.
He then almost repeated the same effort a third time 5 days later, this time 1/100th of a second slower, 9.85 seconds, but in the cold and wet conditions of the Czech Republic. A feat so unique, at the time of this race, people dubbed it the world record in the rain. Powell was in a groove. It's early season, pressure's off, and he's clearly executing near perfect race after race, building up for the coming championship. And only 5 days later, he'd execute another perfect race.
Au couloir numéro 5, Asafa Powell qui se détache maintenant irrésistiblement comme un Strava, attention chrono, record du monde pour Asafa.
Running smooth but hard, relaxed yet strong, running through the line without any pressure, an outright new world record, the madman did it. At this point, he was 2.5 years through his pro career and improved all the way from being ranked outside the world's top 20 to clearing away the world's fastest man, right outside of a world championship. Yeah, so far he's shown minor struggles in the big time, but these are still early days, and we know he got hurt the very next month and pulled out of the 2005 World Championships, which again, Justin Gatlin convincingly won. 9.88 seconds ahead of second place in 10.05, this time also being the second fastest time in the world that year, over 1/10 of a second behind Powell. Injury scares behind him, 2006 would be an Olympics and World Championship-less year, so somehow technically his best year. He had opened the year winning the Commonwealth Games, a championship only involving select countries, and a relaxed, almost disrespectful 10.03 seconds. But since it had the word championship in the title, you know he almost butchered it, running in the wrong lane, which would normally mean disqualification, except being so ahead, he did not impede any other runners. So the gold was his to keep. Technically, a global championship win. He then also went on to just keep fit for the next year, by breaking his own world record twice. First, a silky smooth 9.763, rounded up to 9.77 in June, where it's almost like he finds another gear at the end of his race. Not a race quality he shows often. And then, again, 9.762 seconds, rounded up to 9.77 in August, where we see the same thing. After 50 meters, he just hits another level. Although Gay behind him starting to show some massive potential. Powell was simply a technical master. There's a reason he could lay down these times back to back. When he ran with a clear mind, he could simply replicate perfection again and again. And the numbers don't lie, clocking his best season average so far. And out of 15 races, 12 were sub 10 and 7 of them sub 9.9. But up until now, I understand if you're still on the fence about Powell's inability at major championships. 2003 he was a rookie, 2004 he lost a hard-fought race, 2005 he got hurt, and 2006 was straight up a good year, just unlucky, or perhaps lucky for him, there were no major championships. But 2007 would be his greatest disaster yet. At this point there's no denying he is outright the world's fastest man. Maurice Green had retired, Gatlin, who was starting to run 9.7, received a 4-year doping ban, and the only real challenger was a new up-and-comer Tyson Gay, who had posted his first sub 9.9 last year, but was still 0.1 of a second behind Powell. This year was Powell's to lose. And starting a season late, missing a few weeks of training due to knee tendinopathy, he walks his way through the Jamaican trials, securing his spot on the World Championship team, although the slow finish was due to a minor groin pull. No worries, it's a quick fix, and 1 month later, he's off to the races again.
Försök på dålig start för Atkins, bättre för Powell som har greppet om det här loppet, trycker på ordentligt, gör Asafa Powell. Han vinner med 1,5 meter, vad blir tiden? Det blir 9.90.
9.90 seconds, shutting it down well before the line. Everything seems to be going fine. He's entering this World Championships healthy, the world's fastest man, and the world record holder. Although I'm not going to lie to you, behind the scenes, Tyson Gay was dropping some bombs.
Now here comes Gay. Tyson Gay is starting to move. Tyson Gay walking away with it in 9.84, unofficially into a headwind.
Jumping right into the semi-finals, Powell flies off the gun and finds himself in an extremely commanding lead, shutting it down with a legitimate 30 meters to go in this race. It's not a fast time, but this is genuine energy conservation. You don't often see sprinters ease up this much in an elimination race. Tyson Gay is the polar opposite of Powell's style, coming out with a very fair start before separating from 50 meters onwards with unmatched top end speed. The finals is undoubtedly looking to be a two-man race. Will Gay catch Powell, or will Powell hold off Gay's charge?
Usein on ollut useampi.
Ja mielenkiintoa tässä on myöskin se, että 2 vuoden välein maailman nopeinta miestä. Ja heistä Asafa Powell ja Tyson Gay on siellä. Sankarit ovat kaatuneet, uusia haastajia vastaamaan siihen haasteeseen, minkä... Ja sitten räjähtää! Powell lähtee etenevästi! He tulee myöskin Tyson Gay, ovat menee ylivoimassa maailmassa. Sitten tulee Tyson Gay! Tyson Gay kiinnittää voittoon! Gay voittaa! Kisan ehkä 2, Powell 3! 9.85!
Unfortunately, again, an American runs a near-career race to clinch gold from the Goliath made of glass. And Atkins from the Bahamas has a lifetime performance, slipping past Powell as well for silver. This was a choke, an undeniable choke, regardless of the injury woes, because I guarantee everyone on the track was dealing with something at some point of the season. But I'm not sure any of us were ready for how bad his mentality truly was on the big stage, revealing in a post-race interview. When Tyson came on and gave me a little bit of pressure, I just panicked. When I saw I wasn't in gold medal contention, I gave up in the middle of the race. I just stopped running. There is nothing to break down about this statement. Just a view into the mind of possibly the greatest choker in track and field. And like clockwork, less than 2 weeks after the games, with all the pressure off, he would do this.
Ja sieltä Asafa Powell vieläkin on pääkyyryssä. Nyt mies nousee ylös. Katsotaan juokseeko ihan täysillä loppuun saakka. Voi kauhean.
Mitä?
No.
Presenting us with one of the most mesmerizing and effortless displays of sprinting excellence ever seen. Quite literally giving up 10 meters before the line, 9.74 seconds. The largest drop in the 100-meter world record in over a decade. Did I mention this race was in the heats? Powell ended this shit show of a championship year as the world's fastest man by an entire 0.1 of a second, but with a bronze medal around his neck. And you know from 2008 onwards, it is not getting any easier. because last year's World Championship silver medalist in the 200 meter decides to step down a distance and try his hand at the 100. .976 seconds in his third 100 meter race ever. But speculation arose. Could he do it internationally?
Finally a clean start. Will it be a historic 100 meters? Usain Bolt has a step. Usain Bolt blowing away the field.
Yes, the answer was yes. This is Tyson Gay, by the way. Usain Bolt was a freak, and in just 4 races, Asafa Powell had been demoted to the second fastest man ever, and he would get walked on in the Jamaican Champs final, getting passed by Bolt early, literally watching him jog away. It's only been 5 years so far, but Powell has basically confirmed to us, if someone is in front of him, he cannot focus on his own race. And from this point on, it would only get worse, knowing that Usain Bolt would always be right there. So heading towards the 2008 Beijing Games, Powell would still run rapid times. 9:88 in Stockholm, actually beating Bolt.
He's going to win this. Bolt gives it one final push, and it looks like Asafa Powell has beaten Bolt.
But tell me this, does this look like confidence? Dipping 10 meters early, hoping, praying this race to be over sooner because you know he's right there behind you. And days later, he goes 9.82 in Monaco. A smooth run, because no Bolt, no pressure. So 9:82 2 weeks out from the games. The third fastest time in the world, only after Bolt's new world record, and Tyson Gay with a blistering 9:77 at his Olympic trials, in the quarterfinals, mind you.
Tyson Gay eases in the final strides and still records a 9.77.
Gay also went on to a mind-shattering 9:68 in the finals, with a massive tailwind rendering the time illegal. But Gay did walk away from this trials hurt, meaning he was out of medal contention at the Olympics. So with this knowledge, Bolt and Powell are far and away the number 1 and 2 at these games. And when we jump right in, the semis only further this narrative. They make it abundantly clear, they are the big dogs in town. But like time and time again, when the big lights come on,
Powell has got a very good start.
some shine brighter than ever,
But here comes Usain Bolt.
while some crumble under the heat.
It's going to be gold for Jamaica. That is superb.
What is there to be said at this point? A time slower than his semi-final, even slower than his season's average for 5th place. While his Jamaican compatriot proved beyond reasonable doubt that he was going to be the next superstar of the sport. And then it's honestly laughable, but 2 weeks later, he'd run the second fastest time in history, and his fastest race he'd ever run in what many widely consider sprinting perfection.
Powell saa ihan hyvä lähdö ja on sitten jo 40 metrin kohdalla aivan omissa yksilöisyydessään tulee todella kovaan aikaan ja tekee sen oman ennätyksensä.
A powerful start, a drive phase that separates him from the field, and effortless, picturesque frontside mechanics in the final stages. A race only Asafa Powell could execute outside of a championship with no one close enough to be in his peripheral vision. And after this race, he wasn't quoted celebrating. Instead he said, "Who knows? Maybe I'm not the guy for the big championships, but just the guy to compete in the Grand Prix and Golden League meetings. It's just unfortunate." Ironically, right after that statement, the very next year would be his only year in his 16-year-long career he would run to expectations, entering the World Championships as the 3rd fastest man and finishing 3rd behind Bolt and Tyson Gay in 9.84 seconds.
Here he comes, Usain Bolt, challenged by Tyson Gay. Usain Bolt, 2 clear meters, Tyson Gay.
And yes, this is a 9.84 compared to Bolt's 9.58. He also did this while posting his worst season average since 2003. Just something to think about. While 2010 was a championship-less year, so he ran sparsely, but bloody fast nonetheless.
Powell is already in the lead. Head down until about 40 metres. And in full flight. Good running behind him. But Powell's away. He's going to win this one by 2 metres at all. 9.72. It is indeed a meeting record here in Bismarck.
So 2011 was looking to be massive, posting a pre-World Championship time of 9.78 seconds. His race looking as beautiful as ever for his fastest legal time in 3 years. This actually meant he was heading into the World Championship as the world number 1, the first time since 2007. Bolt was coming back from injury issues, looking well out of form, losing his final race of 2010 to Tyson Gay. And Gay, who was looking hot, was out for the count, pulling out in the middle of the season before the US team trials, citing a hip surgery. And Gatlin, he's still reeling from his band. But days before the beginning of the 2011 World Championship, Powell pulls out due to a groin injury. No Bolt, no Gay, no Gatlin, no Powell. Just a young up-and-comer Johan Blake running away with a free gold.
He's got Jamaican challenge though. It's not going to be. It's the man in lane 6, and it is the young pretender, if you like.
The last 2 years just kind of flew by. 2010 being championshipless, and 2011 missing all the major stars. So in Powell's own words, this was his final opportunity. After back-to-back 5th place finishes at the Olympics, he would make a change, chasing early season matchups, practicing his ability to race under pressure while sticking to his own plan. To learn how to win, you must first learn how to lose. With this goal in mind, he'd open up his season on the 11th of May, racing against Gatlin in a tight matchup.
Gatlin. Men så kommer Gatlin och slår faktiskt Powell på slutten.
9.88, losing by only 100th of a second, almost keeping complete composure to the end. His next bout would be against Bolt on May 31st, where his start is unusually sloppy, but amongst several runners, he continues his drive phase, breaking away with Bolt until Bolt does slip away in the final 30. The stress testing is working, and on the 7th of June, he would put together a complete race against Bolt. A flying start, leading through the drive phase and all the way up until about 30 meters from the finish, where Bolt again would slip away. But Powell stays completely composed, 9.85 seconds to Bolt's 9.79. He's running his own race. And you might not think this is a big deal, but even though Powell had run countless incredible times, since Bolt's 2008 Olympic explosion, Powell and Bolt had faced off 10 times. And this race in 2012 was the second closest he had ever been to Bolt. But sadly, even some of the greatest plans fail. At the Jamaican Champs, he would qualify for his Olympic team spot in 3rd. A not so shocking development as a young Johan Blake crushes both Bolt and Powell in what looked like a typical under pressure Powell race, pulling up early while Blake and Bolt soar past.
Forward on the outside, Johan Blake wins. Bolt looks to be second, Powell looks to be third.
In actuality though, Powell had torn his groin, and this would be his final race before the Olympics, spending an entire month pre-Olympics trying to get back into health, still showing up to the games, but clearly not in peak condition. And while he qualified for the final, his groin was having issues, but he promised himself to go into this race with the mindset to run his hardest no matter what.
In London, I'm going to try and give this all my all. I know I wasn't even close to anything.
He's ahead of the field at the moment.
And when I got to like 40 meters,
And here comes Usain Bolt!
and I felt myself going to the ground, and I had to just bow out of that race. But
Asafa Powell proved not to be the championship man.
Powell finished dead last in what's probably the most perfect depiction of the 5 fastest men in history. Usain Bolt, untouchable. Blake, the rightful second fastest of all time. Gatlin, an overperformer in championships. Gay, redacted. And Powell, simply out of the race. And that would be the closer to Asafa Powell's 2012 season. The final opportunity. The next year would be riddled in drug controversy. 2014 was a championshipless year. In 2015, his true final hurrah at the top of his game, he entered the World Championship as the second fastest man in the world. Ran incredible 9.87s back to back 2 weeks out from the champs, to then, characteristically, crash out in the final. Although, while across his career he may have just been the biggest choker in the sport, he wouldn't be the biggest in this race. That would undoubtedly go to Justin Gatlin.
Bolt, and who's going to win it? It's very close. It's Bolt who's taken it from Gatlin. He's found the speed when he needs it. Who could almost doubt it? We knew it.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you call it. He ended his career as the 4th fastest man in history, broke the 100-meter world record 4 times, and ran the most sub-10-second 100 meters in history, dwarfing even that of Usain Bolt. Yet inside his trophy case stand alone 2 World Championship bronze medals. And across his 13 peak seasons, he would run an incredible average time of 9.956 seconds across 125 finals races, while in his 7 championship finals appearances, he would average 9.954 seconds, unless you count his real 2012 finals performance. Although, I know no one would disagree, his impact as a sprinter goes far beyond his times and records. His race execution and flawless running mechanics during his best days is described and often used as the example of perfect sprinting. And in Jamaica, he is praised not only for his running, but is known as a pioneer, the first modern Jamaican sprinter to build a success on home soil, paving a path for the future stars after him.
Usain Bolt and Fraser of Jamaica running away from the field.
Johan Blake, who comes through to win the 100 metres.
And it's Thompson who's going to become the Olympic champ. It's Jackson's turn to be the queen of sprinting. 21